everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been generating a ton of buzz lately, nuclear power.
Oh, yeah.
And more specifically, its potential role in a world that's striving to achieve net zero emissions.
Right.
We've got a really fascinating mix of sources lined up for you today.
Okay.
We've got excerpts from this really interesting article in Knowable magazine called Nuclear's Role in a Net Zero World.
Oh, okay.
And we'll be looking at a video simulation from Ultrasafe Nuclear Corporation that shows off their small modular reactor. And we'll be looking at some really compelling graphs that show nuclear power generation trends.
Sounds good.
So nuclear power seems to be having a moment in the spotlight again.
It really is,
Yeah.
after what some might call, kind of a roller coaster ride of a history.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So let's rewind a bit. Nuclear energy kind of burst onto the scene, in the mid-20th century with all this promise of clean, abundant power.
Yeah.
We saw a rapid increase in nuclear plants being built, but then things kind of shifted.
Right.
Accidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima, coupled with concerns about safety and waste disposal, really put the brakes on nuclear expansion. But now it seems like there's this renewed interest.
There is.
What's driving this resurgence?
I think it's a combination of factors. The urgency to decarbonize and move away from fossil fuels is definitely pushing nuclear back into the conversation.
Okay.
Currently, nuclear power provides about 10% of the world's electricity, and it's the second largest source of non-fossil fuel energy,
Wow.
right after hydropower. And many experts believe that it could be a key player in reaching net zero emissions, especially as we're, looking for reliable alternatives to those fossil fuels.
So it sounds like the need to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels is a big motivator.
It is a big one.
But are there other reasons for this renewed interest? I mean, haven't renewables like solar and wind been stealing the show in the clean energy space?
Oh, they certainly have been. But one of the arguments that's made for nuclear is that it can provide a consistent baseload of power. Unlike solar and wind, which are intermittent and dependent on weather conditions.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a lot of debate around whether a flexible grid with diverse renewable sources and better storage could potentially address that need, making baseload power less critical.
That's really interesting to hear about the different perspectives on how nuclear fits into the mix.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the need for clean energy, right? I understand there have been some interesting technological developments that are making nuclear power more appealing.
Absolutely.
Yay.
One of the most talked about innovations is the emergence of small modular reactors, or SMRs as they're commonly known.
SMRs.
Yes, and these are much smaller than traditional nuclear power plants, and they're designed to be more cost-effective and potentially safer.
Okay, I have to admit, that video we saw from Ultrasafe Nuclear Corporation was pretty mind-blowing.
I know, right?
They simulated their SMR withstanding a tsunami and coming out unscathed.
Pretty amazing.
Their claim is that these reactors are inherently safe due to their design and smaller size.
Well, the simulations are definitely impressive, and the idea of smaller, more contained reactors is appealing from a safety standpoint. However, it's important to remember that SMRs are still a relatively new technology.
Right.
And some of the promises, especially around cost effectiveness, haven't quite materialized yet.
You're right. Sometimes those big promises don't always pan out in reality.
Exactly.
What kind of challenges are SMRs facing when it comes to cost?
Well, for example, Nuscale Power recently abandoned its SMR project in Idaho.
Really?
Due to significant cost increases.
Yeah.
It seems that the economics of SMRs are still evolving, and it's not as straightforward as initially projected.
So it sounds like cost is one hurdle. Are there any other concerns surrounding SMRs?
Another issue raised is security. Because SMRs are smaller, you would need more of them spread out over a wider area to generate the same amount of power as a large centralized plant.
Right.
This could make them more vulnerable to security threats and more challenging to protect.
That's a really good point. So SMRs might bring some advantages, but it's clear that they come with their own set of challenges as well. We've got to weigh the pros and cons. Now let's shift gears a bit. What about those next generation reactors, the Generation 5 reactors?
Yes.
They seem to be getting a lot of attention in the news lately.
They are indeed. Generation 5 reactors are being developed with the goal of being even safer, more efficient, and producing less waste than traditional reactors.
Okay.
They utilize different coolants, operate at higher temperatures, and some incorporate these novel fuel types. This combination of design elements is intended to be a significant leap forward in nuclear technology.
Okay, break that down for me. What's so different about the coolants and temperatures in these Gen 5 reactors?
Sure.
How do those factors contribute to safety and efficiency?
traditional reactors mostly use water as a coolant.
Okay.
Gen 5 reactors, on the other hand, are being designed to use things like gas, molten salt, or even liquid sodium. These alternative coolants can withstand much higher temperatures than water, which allows the reactors to operate more efficiently and generate more power.
So using these more exotic coolants and running hotter actually makes them more efficient.
That's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Usually higher temperatures mean more waste heat, right?
Yeah, it does seem counterintuitive, but that's where the innovative designs of Gen 4 reactors come in.
Okay.
They're designed to harness that high-grade heat for various applications, reducing waste and maximizing energy output.
Fascinating. So tell me more about these different types of Gen 4 reactors. What are some examples?
One example is the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor.
Okay.
This type boasts high thermal efficiency and a large margin of safety due to its ability to withstand extremely high temperatures.
Okay.
In fact, UltraSafe, the company we mentioned earlier with the impressive SMR simulation, is also developing a microreactor based on this technology that's designed for passive cooling, even in extreme events. That's incredible. They seem to be pushing the boundaries of what's possible with nuclear technology. What other types of Gen 4 reactors are out there?
Another interesting concept is the molten salt reactor.
Okay.
What's fascinating about these reactors is that the fuel itself is a liquid. This means a traditional meltdown, like what happened at Chernobyl, is physically impossible.
Wow.
The liquid fuel also allows for continuous removal of fission products, which can improve efficiency and reduce waste.
That's really intriguing. So no more fear of a meltdown scenario.
Well, it's not quite that simple. While a traditional meltdown might not be possible, there are still safety considerations with molten salt reactors, primarily due to the corrosive nature of the molten salt itself.
Oh, okay.
It requires very specific materials and engineering to contain and manage it safely.
It makes sense. It seems like with every potential solution, there are new challenges to consider. What other types of Gen 4 reactors are being developed?
Another promising design is the sodium-cooled reactor. Sodium is excellent at transferring heat, and it also has the unique property of expanding when heated. This means that if the reactor's temperature starts to rise too high, the expanding sodium actually helps to slow down the nuclear reaction, making it inherently self-regulating.
Wow, it's like it has a built-in safety mechanism. That's pretty cool. Are there any companies or projects working on sodium-cooled reactors right now?
Yes, there are. One notable project is the Natrium reactor being developed by TerraPower, a company backed by Bill Gates.
Oh, wow.
They're aiming to build a demonstration plant in Wyoming in the next few years.
It's exciting to hear about all these advancements in nuclear technology.
It really is.
But I think we need to address the elephant in the room. No matter how safe or efficient these new reactors may be, there's still the issue of nuclear waste. It's a major concern for a lot of people, and understandably so.
You're absolutely right. Nuclear waste is a significant issue that can't be ignored, and it's one of the biggest hurdles for public acceptance of nuclear power. However, Gen 4 reactors are being designed with waste reduction in mind.
How exactly are these new reactor designs addressing the waste problem?
Well, one of the key features of some Gen 4 reactors is their ability to convert spent nuclear fuel, which is considered waste, into usable isotopes.
Okay.
This process can significantly reduce the amount of long-term radioactive waste that needs to be stored.
So instead of just storing the waste indefinitely, these reactors can actually recycle it into something useful. That's pretty amazing. It sounds like Gen 4 reactors are taking a whole new approach to nuclear waste management.
They are, and that's a critical aspect of making nuclear power more sustainable in the long run. However, it's important to acknowledge that even with these advancements, there are still legitimate concerns about the safety and long-term impact of nuclear waste.
I can understand that even with innovative solutions, it's understandable that people would still have concerns about something as potentially hazardous as nuclear waste. This is a complex issue with a lot of different viewpoints to consider.
It definitely is, and I think it's important to have open and honest conversations about these concerns as we explore the potential of nuclear power.
Yeah. We need to understand both the benefits and the risks and make informed decisions based on the best available information.
I completely agree. We're dealing with a powerful technology here, and it's crucial to approach it with a sense of responsibility and transparency.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into nuclear power. We've explored its historical ups and downs, the emergence of SMRs, and the exciting developments in Gen 4 reactor technology.
We've only just scratched the surface.
You're absolutely right. There's so much more to explore. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into the potential of nuclear power beyond just generating electricity. We'll also tackle the big question, is nuclear power the answer to our energy needs in a net zero world? Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of nuclear power. Before, we were discussing the potential of Gen IV reactors to address nuclear waste.
Right.
Which, as we know, is a major concern for a lot of people.
Yes, and it's encouraging to see how these new reactor designs are tackling the waste issue head on. It's definitely a step in the right direction. So we've talked a lot about electricity generation, but I'm curious, is that the only application for nuclear power?
That's a great question, and it might surprise you to learn that electricity generation is just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
One of the most compelling aspects of Gen VI's reactors is their ability to produce extremely high-grade heat, which can be used for a whole range of industrial processes that currently rely heavily on fossil fuels.
That's interesting. So you're saying that industries like steel manufacturing, cement production, even fertilizer production could potentially be powered by nuclear energy instead of fossil fuels.
Exactly. We're talking about decarbonizing sectors that have traditionally been very difficult to clean up, and we're already seeing companies moving in this direction. For example, X Energy is partnering with Dow Chemical to build a high-temperature gas-cooled reactor at a chemical production site. The goal is to integrate this reactor directly into the production process, essentially replacing fossil fuels with nuclear heat.
That's a pretty compelling example. So instead of just powering our homes, nuclear energy could play a crucial role in greening heavy industry as well. Are there any other applications beyond electricity and industrial heat that are being explored?
There are. Remember how we touched upon the issue of water scarcity earlier? Well, nuclear heat can also be used for desalination, the process of turning salt water into fresh water. This could be a game changer for regions facing water shortages.
So nuclear power could potentially help address two major global challenges: our energy needs and access to clean water.
It certainly has the potential. In fact, desalination using nuclear energy is already happening at the Diablo Canyon power plant in California.
That's incredible. It seems like these Gen IV reactors are incredibly versatile, but I imagine implementing these technologies on a large scale won't be a walk in the park. What kind of challenges do you foresee?
You're right, it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
There are significant economic considerations, infrastructure requirements, and of course the ever-present hurdle of public perception.
So it sounds like we've got the technology, but making it a reality will require overcoming some pretty big obstacles.
Precisely. It's a complex undertaking with a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so we've covered the history of nuclear power, the rise of SMRs, the exciting potential of Gen IV reactors, the waste issue, and even the potential for applications beyond electricity. It's clear that nuclear power is a multifaceted and complex topic.
It certainly is. And there's no simple answer to the question of whether nuclear is the solution to our energy needs.
That's a good point. We've heard a lot about the potential benefits, but I think it's important to acknowledge that there are also valid criticisms of nuclear power. Not everyone is on board with expanding its role in the energy mix.
Absolutely. And those criticisms shouldn't be dismissed. It's crucial to have a balanced and nuanced discussion considering all perspectives and weighing the pros and cons carefully.
So how do we weigh those pros and cons? How do we decide if nuclear power is the right path forward?
Well, it's important to remember that no energy source is perfect, including renewables, solar and wind power, while incredibly promising, require vast amounts of land for solar farms and wind turbines. And the mining of materials like lithium for batteries raises its own environmental and ethical concerns.
So even the seemingly green solutions have their downsides. It seems like there's no easy answer, no perfect solution.
Exactly. It's about understanding the trade-offs involved with each energy source and making informed decisions based on the best available evidence.
And that's what we're trying to do here today: explore the complexities of nuclear power and provide our listeners with the information they need to form their own opinions. We've talked about the technological advancements, the potential benefits, and some of the challenges.
And we've emphasized the importance of considering multiple perspectives and not shying away from the tough questions.
Absolutely. So let's dive into those tough questions now. Is nuclear power truly the answer to our energy needs in a net zero world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And honestly, there's no simple yes or no answer. The reality is that the future of nuclear power isn't predetermined. It's being shaped right now by decisions made by policymakers, industry leaders, scientists, and ultimately by public perception and acceptance.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about the technology itself, but also about the social, political, and economic factors that influence its adoption.
Exactly. It's a complex interplay of factors, and understanding those dynamics is crucial for navigating the future of nuclear energy.
So where do we go from here? How do we move forward in a way that addresses both the potential of nuclear power and the valid concerns that people have?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to foster open and honest dialogue. We need to create spaces where people can engage in thoughtful discussions about nuclear power, share their perspectives, and ask tough questions.
That sounds like a good starting point. But dialogue alone isn't enough, is it? We also need to address the historical baggage that the nuclear industry carries. I'm thinking about the accidents, the secrecy, the lack of transparency that has eroded public trust.
You're absolutely right. Building trust is essential. The nuclear industry has a lot of work to do to regain public confidence. That means being transparent about risks involving communities in decision-making processes and demonstrating a genuine commitment to safety and responsible waste management.
Those are all crucial steps. It seems like the future of nuclear power hinges not just on technological advancements, but also on a shift in how the industry interacts with the public, a shift towards greater transparency, accountability, and inclusivity.
I completely agree. The technology is important, but it's only part of the equation. Ultimately, the success of nuclear power depends on earning the trust and support of the people it aims to serve.
And that brings us back to the question we posed earlier, is nuclear power the answer? Well, it depends on how the industry addresses these challenges and whether it can regain public confidence.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story, where the path we take depends on the choices we make as a society.
I like that analogy. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with some food for thought. We've explored the complexities of nuclear power, from its turbulent past to the promising new technologies on the horizon. We've examined the arguments for and against, highlighting the trade-offs involved and the importance of considering all perspectives.
And we've emphasized that the future of nuclear power is not set in stone. It's a story that's still being written.
Exactly. And we as a society have a role to play in shaping that story. So we invite you to continue exploring this topic, engaging in thoughtful discussions, and forming your own informed opinions.
Because ultimately, the decision of whether to embrace nuclear energy is a collective one.
And that's where our deep dive comes in, right? We've aimed to equip you, our listener, with the knowledge and insights to participate in that decision-making process. Now in our final part, we'll leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder as you continue to explore this complex and fascinating world of nuclear power. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of nuclear power. We've covered a lot of ground, from the history of nuclear energy and the reasons for its recent resurgence to the exciting potential of new reactor designs like SMRs and Gen IV reactors. We've also discussed the challenges, including the ever-present issue of nuclear waste and the need to rebuild public trust.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey exploring both the promises and the complexities of nuclear power.
It really has. And as we wrap up this episode, we want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question to ponder. Imagine for a moment that we could overcome all the challenges associated with nuclear power. Imagine that we could guarantee the safety of these reactors, develop effective and sustainable solutions for waste disposal, and make nuclear energy truly cost-competitive. A world where nuclear power is truly clean, safe, and affordable. It's a compelling vision.
It is. So here's the question for you to consider. In that scenario, would you support the inclusion of nuclear power in the fight against climate change?
It's a complex question. It goes beyond, those simple yes or no answers. It requires us to weigh our values, consider the trade-offs, and engage in thoughtful deliberation.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer here. What matters is that we engage in these conversations, that we stay informed, and that we participate in shaping the future of energy.
Because ultimately, the decisions we make today will have profound implications for generations to come.
Well said. We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of nuclear power. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and perhaps even a little bit inspiring.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.